Good day everyone, how are you today? I hope you're doing great. So in this video, we will going to discuss about building information competence, designing instruction for today's learner. So we have here the content overview so that you have an idea on what we're going to discuss. According to Mark Moran, in the libraries of old, the Dewey Decimal System got you started in research. But there is no card catalog for 2.0. To use the internet as a library, you need new research skills, the ability to pick out reliable sources from an overwhelming heap of misinformation, to find relevant material amid an array of options, to navigate the shifting ethics of Creative Commons and intellectual property rights, and to present conclusions in a manner that engages modern audiences. Without a dedicated guide, students end up, in the words of Professor Henry Jenkins, as feral children of the internet raised by Web 2.0 wolves. According to Abraham and Luther, 2004. Now the roller coaster really begins as we deal with the next generation, those born with a chip who have grown up in the 1980s with computers and don't think of them as technology. They are part of their cultural DNA. Creating competent students, an instructional imperative. Basic to research in the area of technology and information skills instruction is the basic assumption that a contemporary definition of information literacy must include the ability to locate, retrieve, and use electronic as well as print-based resources, and that, in addition to information literacy, students must also develop digital, visual, textual, and technological literacies, that is according to American Association of School Librarians, or AASL 2007. Because most contemporary observers consider today's learner as a unique group with needs and perspectives that differ in significant ways from those of students in preceding generations, this chapter begins with a description of the net generation and how these contemporary youngsters understand and use digital technology and behave when seeking information online. Strategies for helping students deal with the ethical uses of information found online are included. A new generation of learners. Contemporary observers have labeled today's students variously as the net generation, the information generation, digital natives, and new millennials. Whatever the sobriquet, most argue that the term generally applies to students aged 12 through 18 and born after 1982 who constitute a unique group distinguished by attitudes, dispositions, and propensities related to their enthusiasm for technology. Net-gen natives are also more ethically diverse, have more discretionary money to spend, and are more socially connected than teens in the generations that have come before. It is interesting to note that the nation's young people were among the first to embrace the use of computers in the school library. While some of their elders were mourning the passing of the card catalog, youngsters were eager to search the library collection electronically and could do it successfully from an early date. Tapscat 2009 describes 8 characteristics of today's digital age learners, which he terms net-gen norms. So they prefer freedom to create and perform work when and where they please. They customize hardware and software to make their preferred technologies work in ways that suit their personal needs. They use scrutiny to determine the worth of information and goods. They compare and contrast product information online and look for the cheapest price without sacrificing value. They read blogs, forums, and reviews. They're skeptical about online reviews. Instead, they consult their friends. Tapscat described integrity as meaning that today's digital users are tolerant, open to alternative viewpoints, and quick to examine corporate misbehavior. It is interesting to note, however, that here Tapscat provides several statements from students and young adults who comfortably provide justification for illegally downloading music, videos, and other content from internet sources. Tapscat warns the current model of pedagogy is teacher-focused, one way, one size fits all. It isolates the student in the learning process. NetGen students also have a need for entertainment, both in personal and in work situations, which in part explains their proclivities toward engaging in activities simultaneously, such as chatting with friends on MSN while listening to their media player and surfing the net. These same students also greatly valued speed in the terms of connectivity and response times for instant messaging and social networking. Additionally, they seek out innovation, looking for newer and better ways to conduct the business of their lives. Tamska tells us that it is not unusual to see young people upgrade media players. For example, every time a newer generation with more features is released for sale. A more balanced view of the NetGen population and its promise in terms of cognitive gains for students awaits additional research and examination of perspectives held by teachers, school librarians, parents, and employers who interact and work with their population on a daily basis. That said, it is clear that the computer expertise that today's students bring to the classroom and library has changed the dynamics and direction of instruction in both settings. As individuals, millennials are remarkably diverse, school librarians can capitalize on the technological powers many members of this group of youngsters display in the development of dynamic teaching models that will assist these learners to develop 21st century literacy competencies. Understanding millennials. What kinds of preferences and enthusiasm do millennials exhibit, and how can our understanding of their worldviews and computer use assist us in providing learner-centered programs and services? In terms of learning style, research indicates that many millennials prefer visual information formats and favor participatory problem solving and active learning to teacher, librarian, lead didactic instructional approaches. In addition, multimedia and multitasking are watchwords for this generation of young people. Cell phones are their most preferred method of tool-mediated communication, and their information needs center on schoolwork, time, date, social life, and whether used to the fast pace and instant response made possible by improved internet service providers and available hardware, instant messaging, and texting capabilities. Millennials tend to be impatient in information transactions and desirous of multiple stimuli in their environment. What was necessary and sufficient to know and understand in a print-based and often finite set of information resources is today not in any way helpful for students who must navigate constantly involving networks, evaluate websites, choose search engines, select hyperlinks, and compare information across sources. The Web 2.0, an information space for children and youth. If there is one single behavior that typifies technology used by today's young people, it is their obsession with social networking sites. Examples are Facebook, Twitter, and MySpace. Virtual worlds, example, Farm World, multiplayer gaming. Examples are Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Halo. Online collaboration. Examples are Wikis and Google Docs. And journaling. Examples are blogging, mashups, zines, and video sharing, to name a few, and the seemingly seamless way in which this is into aspects of their lives. Finally, graphics and the interactive features of internet searching are particularly popular among today's web surfing youngsters. Interactivity and animation reflect the active learning style of many children, while the graphics help them to make sense of the information, especially when a child's interest level exceeds her or his cognitive ability and reading proficiency. How students think about and use the internet in information seeking. What does the research tell us about the internet used by children and youth? In 2001, the Pew Internet and American Life Project interviewed students from across the country to determine information-seeking behaviors and experiences. The studies provided statistical evidence for what most educators already suspected. Students were using the internet in ever-increasing numbers, and most of them were thoroughly enjoying the experience. For example, 94% of the teenagers who reported having access to the internet indicate that they relied heavily on online information for research tasks. 71% of them use the internet as the major source for their most recent school project. 58% has used a website set up by school or a class. 34% had downloaded a study guide, and 17% had created a web page for a school project. The experience and meaning of the internet for children and youth. Research indicates that children's search experience online is multidimensional, engaging them in cognitive, behavioral, affective, and social activities. For example, the thinking about and choosing of a topic and coming up with search terms to describe it, as well as keeping track mentally of search options and determining relevance of retrieved items, are tasks that engage children on a number of cognitive levels. At the same time, behavioral demands of internet use relate to eye-hand coordination, keyboarding and typing, mouse management, and operating peripherals. Examples are printers and jump drives. Children are also engaged on an emotional or affective level, particularly when screens freeze, printers jam, and searches result in an avalanche or a dearth of hits, perhaps because they have been conditioned by technological advances and or media hype to expect near instantaneous responses from information system. Speed seems to be an issue and an expectation for many millennials. Finally, children's use of the internet has a social dimension in that they enjoy assisting one another and sharing ideas, information, and websites. Interestingly, they also seek and appreciate website recommendations from teachers and library media specialists when such assistance does not jeopardize students' self-image or face. Student participants in the Pew Research Center studied themselves describe the internet variously as a textbook and reference library, a tutor, a study group, a guidance counselor, and a locker. Research focus on information seeking in electronic resources. Research interest related to technological issues in library and information studies has been very high, for there is still much to be learned that will help designers create more user-friendly retrieval systems in the brave new world of high-tech school libraries. Although there are some studies that have strong theoretical frameworks, many are action projects designed to solve a practical problem. This means that many instances, the findings lack generalizability to other populations and contexts, while these limitations argue for more and more robust studies. School librarians can use the insights provided so far in designing instruction to support children's online research tasks. Online searching behavior of millennial students. In addition to the Pew Research Center 2001 study, a number of library and information research studies provide clues to the online behavior and preferences of millennial information seekers that reflect in experiences and expectations with regard to internet speed, searching activities, and standards for searching success. For example, a key issue in terms of the persistence, personal investment, motivation, and enthusiasm for searching online seems to be the interest that students have in the search task itself. In other words, it seems to matter whether students feel personally connected to the topic being investigated or whether they look on the research task as an assignment to be gotten through. Theory-founded rationality could be applied to information seeking with this group of students. In brief, the theory states that because of constraints of time and patience, information seekers will rarely attempt to find every bit of information or even the best information when searching. Instead, they tend to settle for information that is good enough. Students in Augustus' study used two strategies to cope with the information retrieved: reduction and termination. Students reduce the recognitive task of reviewing information by using familiar or recommended websites, reading site synopses and summaries, reading descriptions supplied by search engines, and skimming. They found the categorization of sites in terms of personal websites, scientific websites, or best for science, for math, or for fun as particularly useful. Termination strategies involve truncating searches as soon as an acceptable website was located. Computers and learning, benefits and challenges of online access. Morton 1996 asserts that the value of a computer environment is not so much the improvement of students' achievement through computer use as it is the improvement of students' ability to achieve. Many studies conducted since the 1980s have led educators to conclude that the use of technology can benefit students in a number of important ways. So, educational benefits of access to the internet and electronic resources. Internet access at home and school. It motivates students, improves attitudes towards reading and writing tasks, improves language skills, reading, writing, spelling, and vocabulary, provides an audience for student work outside the classroom, creates opportunities for inquiry learning, students' independence, and differentiated instruction. It increases student choice and sense of control of their own learning, provides immediate access to resources not available locally, provides access to other points of view, and invites critical thinking and evaluation, promotes collaboration between and among students. including the promotion of critical thinking skills, the development of writing skills, enhanced opportunities for language development, and an increase in student motivation. Although it is useful conceptually to consider these benefits as separate entities, research shows that they are interrelated. Research studies aimed at showing the relationship between use of computers and cognitive development emphasize the possibilities for critical thinking and problem solving. Researchers also point to growth of student learning in the area of oral and written language development. Challenges for students in using electronic and internet resources. While the potential for learning in the classroom and the library in tapping the information resources on the internet cannot be overstated, researchers have identified a litany of problems children encounter online. In spite of E-rate funding and an expansion in internet access in the nation's schools, there are still inequities and barriers that jeopardize the ability of many children to make educational use of online information. And in spite of increased computer skills of millennials, children still encounter search failure based on skill deficits of one kind or another. Barriers of information seeking, ethical issues in information seeking. In order to improve internet access to students, an increasing number of schools have created after-school programs, particularly in areas serving low-income students. In addition, many communities are providing internet access and technology training through local agencies, such as community technology centers, libraries, and churches, some funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In an article championing the professional resource embodied in each school's librarian, Mark Moran 2010 has drawn attention to ethical issues surrounding information access and has reframed the digital divide in terms of access to media literacy instruction. In fact, Moran's own experience of corporate America has led him to conclude that students do not know how to find or evaluate information they need on the internet. Yet, I know that without adequate media literacy training, kids will not succeed in a 21st century workplace. The stakes in the kind of administrative myopia that results in a school district abandoning its professional guides, as Moran suggests, are high. Problems for students in online searching. First is navigating the online environment. Until relatively recently, difficulties with typing and keyboarding made computer-assisted information seeking difficult for many children. While these kinds of problems have been successfully addressed for most youngsters through computer classes and personal experiences with computers at home, complex issues persist, many of which relate to basic misunderstanding of the nature and structure of the internet, to difficulties in implementing effective and efficient search strategies, and to dealing with search output. Also problematic for students have been the evaluation of websites and online information and the determination of the relevance of retrieved information items. Ineffective searching strategies and techniques. According to Nall and Haradan 1996, a growing body of research in the use of information seeking skills among elementary and secondary school students shows that these youngsters consistently demonstrate a lack of general information seeking strategy in their inability to select appropriate search terms, especially when they are searching complex and abstract topics for which there are no direct and obvious matches. Handling search output. Since information overload frequently leads adults to premature abandonment of online searches, it is fair to assume that less experienced information seekers will find excessive search output intimidating as well. In point of fact, managing search results has indeed proved to be a daunting task for many students. Information overload and students' strategies to cope with it have also been documented in studies by Akin 1998, Gordon 2000, and Agosto 2001. Aselen and Doron 2008 describe millennial handling of retrieved information in this way. They approach the results list with a click and grab strategy by most often selecting the first source on the list with minimal or no review and evaluation of its relevance or quality. Students spend little time in reading the source, instead skimming and scanning our typical reading process. Once within a website, becoming distracted by both internal and external hyperlinks is a greater risk than in print sources of information. Finally, cutting and pasting rather than rewarding and recording are dominant process when students are taking notes from online information sources. Evaluating online information sources. Many youngsters lack the conceptual skills to understand that the internet sites and resources are not centrally created but are the work of different providers with different motives. This leads many youngsters to accept what they find online without question. As with books, Shenton and Dixon found that the children were quick to assume everything they found about their topic on the internet was correct just because it was there. However, with guidance and experience, many students were eventually able to distinguish sales and marketing sites from more neutral informational sites. It might be well to note that unless youngsters are taught and also expected to appraise critically the resources they find on the internet and pursue research questions rather than fact-finding tasks, the potential for inspiring the development of higher order thinking skills represented by the activity of internet-based searching will remain largely unrealized. Judging relevance. In their evaluation of information sources, relevance seems to be a particularly difficult concept for children to determine, though there is indication that some are able to learn this skill especially when their interest levels are high. Literacy issues. Deficits in basic literacy skills have also been identified as limiting student effectiveness in online searching. For example, in many studies, difficulties related to reading skills, alphabetizing, and vocabulary all prove debilitating for students attempting to search electronically. Complexity of online resources. As the newcomers to the subject matter areas they are in school to master, Newman explains, students frequently need basic text which provide an overview of a subject rather than cutting-edge research results of the sort generally retrieved from database or internet sources. In addition, information found online frequently demanded reading comprehension that far exceeded the skill levels of young students. Improving children's chances of searching success. Students need to develop skills related to the mechanics of searching, including at least some knowledge of search commands and basic keyboarding moves. Process models and structures for learning. Students will have to create their own mental models as frames for independent problem solving online. Providing students with an overview of the options is a place to start in engaging students in this crucial information-seeking activity.
Understanding the library and its online resources. In the days when children's research tasks were based solely on resources available in the school library, information seeking was relatively straightforward. Children use standard tools to locate information in print and media formats on hand. The library was a collection in its strictest sense, for in most instances the resources had been painstakingly, even lovingly, selected by informed adults with the developmental needs, domain knowledge, language requirements of students, and the specifics of the curriculum in place at a particular school in mind. Online catalogs and electronic encyclopedias that signaled the library's entry into the information age were essentially extensions of the early controlled, well-structured library environment. Searching on the internet today assumes none of these characteristics, or with the exceptions, perhaps, of websites created to offer a number of carefully selected links for children's use. In fact, it is an activity of an entirely different sort. The old saying that on the internet no one knows you're a dog seems particularly apt in this regard. Today, anyone can create a website or other web-based information space and, and represent him or her in any way for any purpose. Many websites that appear informational are, in fact, commercially produced and purposed. By the same token, even informational websites sell a point of view by selecting to focus on a specific slice of the experiential pie. In this context, reality is what the creators of the site say, that it is complete with the inherent and often hidden biases. While Mankell, Aaron, and Walker in 1986 and others have pointed to the benefits of being able to access different point of view, such access also calls for development of new and more sophisticated evaluation skills. Since the internet has no built-in filters to publishing, and children are making greater use of the internet for their school assignments. Children need to understand how information is placed on the internet and how to verify its authenticity, accuracy, and timeless. Many students' misconceptions of libraries as warehouse-like entities with a finite number of resources on a limited range of topics actually keep them from appreciating either the types of information currently available, how that information was organized, or the possibilities for information access that now exist in the contemporary media center. The importance of background, domain, or topical knowledge. Research related to online searching underscores the importance of domain knowledge and generally holds that students who jump into online searches without taking time to develop same familiarity with topic-related concept and topic-related vocabulary severely compromise their chances of a successful search experience, because background knowledge enables students to recall more concepts and integrate this concept more readily into their cognitive structure. Building adequate content knowledge is a critical first step in successful information searching, regardless of whether the research tasks are self-selected skills to research tasks or imposed by others. Research indicates that when children lack essential frameworks, they experience difficulties in identifying an interest to pursue and later, in narrowing, focusing, or refining their topics. Kuthau in particular recommends that students explore their topics thoroughly before beginning the task of collecting sources and gathering information. Newman noted that a student's understanding of the topic determines not only the types of the resources the student needs most but also the relevance of the information and resources eventually located. Newman also addressed the domain knowledge as a preliminary to successful information. Indeed, a lack of background knowledge sets the stage for a variety of problems. For example, Solomon, Moore, and St. George and Irving found that children who lacked knowledge of their topics were unable to pose appropriate research questions or select appropriate search terms. These findings underscore the emphasis that Chen and Kulthau cited in Null and Harada 1996 place on identifying descriptors and alternative subject headings as prerequisites to a successful search process. Irving's research indicates that teaching subject knowledge alongside online searching is one way to ensure that students know enough about topics to undertake initial searches. Selecting topics and tasks that are developmentally appropriate. Obermann noted problems that informals experience in dealing with abstraction. It is clear from the research that difficulties in accessing and using online information sources are related to cognitive development. Whereas Walter found that the only topics that were consistently easy for children to find concrete subjects that were also easy to spell. In a study by Caffey and Bates and Hirsch found that the obscurity of title are the problem for searchers. In a study by Caffey and Bates and Hirsch confirmed that when her informants used titles as indicators of relevance, their ability to evaluate retrieve items for relevance was seriously diminished. Allowing time for information seeking. For more than 3 decades, Irving and others have noted the importance of class scheduling for online searching because children need time for learning how to search, for practicing search techniques, protocols, procedures, and applying newly acquired searching skills to research tasks. Time was also a problem for students and equipment as well. Here are the key competencies for searching success. Knowledge of the library and its print and online resources. Knowledge of the information search process as a structure for searching. Knowledge of database, organization and design. Background knowledge of the topic of the research question, and time for information seeking online. Developing competent searchers, instructional strategies. The research related to student searching provides some insights into the skills students need and the kinds of lessons that may be the most valuable in helping students reap the positive outcomes that can be gained by accessing electronic resources. Chen's insightful observation that merely emphasizing the mechanical aspect of online technology will probably not serve students very well seems particularly appropriate. Moran argues when left to their own devices, students will not develop information competencies on their own. Professional instruction and guidance is clearly necessary. Thus, it is up to school librarians to apply their expert knowledge of information resources and search techniques, curricular goals, instructional design, and student abilities in planning instruction and guiding students in seeking information. In addition, they must create and sustain a climate for searching success while also documenting problems so that their own instructional strategies and perhaps even the systems themselves can be redesigned to reflect the more student-centered, child-friendly, and differentiated focus. School librarians play an active role in assisting youth in information seeking and learning from information sources. Fortunately, lessons learned from recent research studies provide many clues to student information needs in electronic environments and can help school librarians develop curricular strategies. We cannot expect students to pick up the information skills they need without instructional intervention. No matter how computer savvy they may appear, in addition, studies by Irving, Kuthau, McNally, and Kuthau, Fidel et al., and others repeatedly underscore the need for school librarians to play an active role in assisting youth in information seeking and learning from information sources. The importance of differentiating instruction. Perhaps the biggest challenge for school library professionals lies in planning and implementing a coherent program of instruction that not only meets the needs of students with vastly diverse computer skills, search experience, and interest, but also encourages deep, as opposed to surface, understandings of the processes involved. Tailor- Tailoring instruction to fit skills levels will be increasingly complex as the range of student experience with computers and internet searching continues to widen. Sitting through instruction on basic computer operations will be very bit as frustrating for experienced surfers as advanced instruction would be for already advanced reading novices. The basis of instruction at any level must be the enactment of active learning, which requires learners to relate new information to what they already knew, link abstractions to experience, and evaluate the ideas they encounter in light of their relevance and utility. Also, in the importance of differentiating instruction, students submit printouts of searches, justify their choices of relevant materials, and demonstrate an understanding of the differences between academic and technical journals, popular magazines, and ideological tracts. Collaboration as an information seeking strategy. According to Newman, collaborative searching involving both librarians and students as well as peer mentoring can be effective additions to the librarian's repertoire of instructional strategies. Morton asserts that allowing students to take the lead in pursuing personal lines of research enables librarians and teachers an opportunity to participate as co-learners, intellectual sojourners, who also do not know the answers. The dynamics of interactivity when professionals and students interact around an electronic search. There are few research studies that inform librarian-student interaction. Collaboration as an information seeking strategy. Essential elements of a dynamic and effective information skills curriculum include instruction about the information search process, an, an emphasis on the research phase of the process, a through exploration of the research topic, instruction and critical strategies for evaluating web-based information, attention to basic literacy skills, attention to searching strategies, and an emphasis on information housing skills and information research activity, an essential first step. It seems evident that the activities precede actual searching are more than simply opening moves in the analysis of the research task at hand. Over and over again, studies of electronic searching portend the importance of research planning, question creation, search term generation, and strategy selection. In addition, providing a research space in the overall project makes good instructional sense in that it allows students the opportunity to capitalize on what they already knew and make personal connections with important aspects of topics before proceeding. It is also possible that the research phase of information seeking assignments should include time for librarians and teachers to review the specific process model that youngsters are going to use in carrying out research tasks. For one has also pointed to the necessity of direct instruction by school librarians on the overall process of information seeking as a basis for enacting coaching and facilitation rules that are helpful later on. Instructors can help students learn to become planners by providing activities that stimulate thinking about the topic and research process and that allow students to practice making research decisions. For example, Irving found brainstorming to be valuable for both librarians and students, and that these activities help the instructors consider the informational dimensions of the research task, the kinds of resources that would be needed, and the range of topics in which the students were interested. Graphic organizers and other types of visual representations, which allow students to see fact from a content area in meaningful patterns, have also been found helpful to students in exploring possible search topics, formulating search questions, and selecting search terms when used as a part of the research planning process. The importance of creating a focus of narrowing our topic has proven to be of even greater importance as a research strategy in online environments. Because within this context, the possibility of retrieving literally thousands of items is a distinct possibility. According to Krenor, the sheer volume forces users to think more precisely about the topic and about their own needs to make qualitative decisions on the nature of the material at every step, and to rely on their own judgment to a much greater extent than was necessary before. Creation of focus questions and between objective and subjective questions and a group exercise that provides practice for students in recognizing the differences might include focused and unfocused research. The identification of keywords is an important strategy in creating search protocols or strings can be facilitated by providing practice in main idea identification and the selection of keywords. School librarians and teachers have found creative and concrete activities to allow children to conceptualize the strategy and practice this skill. For teachers and librarians, research activities provide time and opportunity to assist student knowledge of the topics, their general skill levels, and their mental models of the information search process. Instructors can also use the pre-search space as a time for activities that alert students to the many pitfalls that may await them in accessing information online and to make students aware of the range and levels of assistance that school library professionals can provide. Students sometimes have unrealistic expectations of both a library's resources and its librarians. Lerner said that good thinkers make plans for learning. However, research indicates that pre-planning of sequential activities is not a part of the repertoire of novice searchers, who often tend to rely instead on system feedback. Skill development for online searching. Online searching studies have helped produce a laundry list of skills that students must develop to ensure that they become effective and efficient searches. Not surprisingly, among the most important of these are basic literacy skills related to reading, spelling, writings, and language use. While the lack of such skills may not hamper the initial searching activities of youngsters who have access to iconographic interfaces and other types of kid-friendly online public access catalog software, computer software, and websites, the lack of such skills will create barriers as the complexity of search tasks increases. The essential to research success are the abilities to read for comprehension, to scan a paragraph for the main ideas, and to see the relationships between ideas and concepts on a given topic are precursors to the ability to generate keywords as search terms and understand synonyms as well as the ability to handle alternative word forms. Hirsch identified the need to learn to analyze the challenge the authority of document found on the internet, and a strategy that Jacobson and Ignacio found useful in raising student awareness of evaluate criteria such as authority, accuracy, and the like was to have students themselves design web pages. Search strategizing. Over time, researchers have created an impressive literature on the information seeking and behavior of adults. Among the most helpful have been studies that examines the ways in which end users go about seeking information in online environments. In an often cited study by Bates, it was found that in actual search situations and users rarely followed a linear course but rather invoked an iterative berry-picking process that evolved and changed as their searches unfolded. Research and on information seeking and children suggest that searches conducted by children on their own also tend to follow nonlinear patterns. However, Caffey and Bates noted that student searches need assistance and support with many aspects of their search process, including scanning text and using hypertext links. The problem for novice searchers in Newman's view is that they often lack either the domain knowledge or the cognitive flexibility to allow them to change their perspective, their focus, or their direction without some assistance. These problems can be complicated by the reluctance many children have to asking for help, particularly as they enter adolescence. For this reason, young searchers might welcome and benefit from the instruction that includes the idea tactics that Bates suggests. While waiting for system to improve, school librarians must plan programs of intervention that will provide a level of support for young searchers seeking information in potentially disabling information system. The children will be well served if school librarians seize every opportunity to advocate for them and suggesting to vendors and designers the need for improving the system designed for student use. Journaling. The use of teacher-librarian monitored journals to chronicle student experience and to track projects and problems has been effective in helping all ages of students from primary school to college. For example, found that Hulthau found that journals provide a means for the recording of students' thoughts, problems, and concerns. A student's journal becomes a permanent artifact of the process and a resource that can be used by him or her as a springboard to the next project and consulted as a tutorial for review before the next project begins. Students can also use this notation as a basis for evaluating the research process and the final project or product. Teachers and librarians can all use journals as venues within which to pose questions that will stimulate student thinking. Hayes found that relating questions to specific aspects of Kuthau's information search process was particularly useful. Appropriate questions might include the following. Does the focus relate to the reading and to the topic? The focus be narrowed further or broadened? Do terms and keywords relate directly to the focus? Changes for school librarians, instructional and service rules. The informational and technical needs of students involved in online searching should at last put to rest vestigial models of librarians that claim that collecting and organizing informational materials, creating an information environment, and teaching library skills necessary for the library use encompass all dimensions of the school librarian's job. Current research confirms that the need for variety and dynamism in instructional strategizing and for introducing additional levels of assistance and service. And point of fact, rules for school librarians in supporting students in searching online will appropriately include instruction, facilitation, advising or counseling, and occasionally information provision. Since research has shown that in online environments student access to resources is reduced where personal assistance is not provided, there may even be ethical issues involved when school librarians fail to anticipate and supply the degree of assistance that novice searchers require for successful curricular outcomes. Within the context of instruction of electronic and online searching, school librarians should count on teaching the mechanics of searching, pre-search planning, such as identifying keywords and creating search questions, selecting search strategies and databases, and managing search results. In addition, librarians can help students in reviewing lists of citations, interpreting output, assisting with the redesign of the search when necessary, and helping students make relevance judgments. For example, using criteria such as depth of information, length, reading level, and up-to-dateness in addition to aboutness. Finally, research indicates that students may need encouragement and assistance with in-game activities which involve organizing and using information obtained. The value of support provided by the knowledgeable school librarians who not only understand understand search techniques but also possess an understanding of the possibilities and idiosyncrasies of online resources should not be underestimated. And because online searching of bibliographic records yields citations and abstracts for which the full text may ultimately be desired, knowing how the documents can be obtained quickly and cheaply requires professionals who are capable and willing to acquire them through interlibrary loan. New competencies for a new age. Technological innovation helps students create and share as well as to consume information products, makes their understanding of intellectual property rights a matter of considerable importance and interest. It is key to the use of technology in the workplace are the skills needed for the effective use of Web 2.0 technologies, hence the need for new instructional objectives and learning outcomes. A case in point relates to copyright and ethics issues for students. Technology and ethical information use experts, school librarians are poised on the front lines to teach students how to navigate knotty issues regarding copyright and intellectual property in the global world of information. Handling questions concerning intellectual property and copyright law and Web 2.0 environments requires finesse, creativity, and sensitivity. Creative Commons is a non-profit organization dedicated to making it easier for people to share and build upon the works of others, consistent with the rules of copyright. Involved in Creative Commons rights are the following: issues surrounding attribution, such as giving the original author credit after modifying and distributing materials. Non-commercial intent. No derivatives, meaning that words might be modified and provided to users but not for the purpose of creating derivative works. Share alike, a concept wherein new producers modifying and creating derivative works must make the changed products available to users within the same licensing terms as outlined and in the original work. Teachers, school librarians as collaborative partners. As research has extended our understanding of the importance of collaboration between school librarians and teachers in helping students make meaningful and ethical use of information they find online and integrating electronic resources into curricular units. Collaboration between teachers and library major specialists on student assignment helps to make student searches result in more relevant retrieval. School librarians may have to educate some teachers to the benefits of using a model for research and assist teachers in creating assignments that facilitate rather than finish the important learning opportunities such as project can provide. Student access to electronic databases calls teachers in the study to create more complex assignments. It is probable that the greater a teacher's experience and effectiveness in searching for information online, the more likely it is that the use of electronic resources will be incorporated within research tasks in meaningful ways. Hardware and software in the school setting. Successful online searching requires an environment that supports its use, demonstration hardware and software for large and small groups, facilities that enable online interaction and group activities, and funding equal to the financial demands of providing online services. The availability of technical support and policies that promote staff development opportunities and permit flexible scheduling of online searching activities are also elements essential in maintaining educationally valuable information-rich environments. It goes without saying that a school climate that supports instructional innovation is also necessary if inquiry learning is to be successfully implemented. Or for a discussion of inquiry learning. In the library power experience outlined by Bishop, the importance of buy-in by stakeholders was essential to its success. Technological troubleshooting, a continuing challenge. An anticipated dilemma for librarians created by the transformation of the library from cultural storehouse to technological nexus has emerged. The increasing percentage of the media specialists they devoted to technological troubleshooting and concomitant reduction of time available for teaching. Time spent clearing paper jams, rebooting frozen computer screens, and monitoring internet use is time unavailable for enacting the instructional rule, a role so carefully articulated in the literature of school librarianship over the past quarter of a century. While no one would wish to reinstate a retro view of the librarian as custodian of resources and general school factotum, it is increasingly evident that the responsibility for riding herd on technological balls is an exercise best undertaken by library aides under the careful supervision of the librarian. If not, the profession stands to lose much of the instructional momentum that has been building over the past decades. The expertise of the librarian in making the resources educationally useful in instructing students in the skills they will need to survive in the workplace and the university is simply too valuable a resource to have it dissipated in the busyness of media centered on jobs. Five types of information: information, misinformation, malinformation, mixed up information, useless information. Information is a factual, clearly sourced, bears all the traditional hallmarks of reliability and quality. Misinformation is the information judged to be false, out of date, or incomplete in a misleading way. Malinformation means potentially dangerous or damaging information, inappropriate information, information people feel uncomfortable with in openly accessible circulation. Mixed up information means poorly organized and presented information, sloppy design, problematic navigation. Useless information are the information that appears to serve little informing purpose. Notes: the Department of Commerce asserts that the K-12 years are critical in generating student interest in information technology and career opportunities. Everhart discusses the problem presented by student plagiarism in an electronic world and some policies that school librarians might adopt to reduce cheating. Direct instruction and quoting, paraphrasing, and citing sources is needed to limit student copying, and that is the bad news. And the good news is that where teachers and librarians provide instruction on research ethics and the mechanics of citing, support for students in searching for information, authentic research projects, and time to undertake those projects students research and their ethical behavior improve. Thank you and God bless.